Live.
We are live. Hello and welcome to a session of Peak Prosper's live podcast with Mike Morelli and Scott Raleigh from Peak Prosper. Today we're going to be talking about romantic relationships, and I think this is a very touchy topic for a lot of men. And what I've come to realize in my own experience in my life, a relationship with a woman has the power to elevate me to heights beyond my solo realm of possibility. And it also carries with it the potential force to pull me to lower lows than I could ever have possibly even fathomed. I mean, heartbreak and heartache and just that feeling of discontentment and resentment that ensues in a relationship can create so much pain in a guy's life. So today we're going to be talking about a method we've developed at Peak Prosper, and giving you some of the tools that you might go implement in your own relationship to reignite that fire, reignite that passion. And even if you're a single guy that's listening into this video today, you're going to find a lot of value in the tools and the methodology that we're going to share with you. So before we dive into that, I'd love to have Mike kick us off here just by talking a little bit about some of the problems that we hear guys sharing with us in our conversations, both in our one-on-one calls and in our group setting.
Yeah, no, totally. And it's like really it kind of boils down to a couple different scenarios, right? The first guy is in a relationship and there's a disconnection in the relationship. The communication is breaking down. Really what's happening is almost, the guy has a different vision than maybe the girl, and it's causing frustration. It's causing anger in the relationship, potentially resentment, lack of intimacy, lack of trust, right? And so we see that. The other one that we see is a guy, he's just heartbroken. He's gotten out of a relationship. He thought maybe he was in love with her. He thought that potentially, she was the one, or he was deeply attracted to her. He thought they were going places, and then it ended. So now there's this feeling of potential shame, depression, sadness, heartbreak, right? And those are really kind of the two big ones. Scott, would you say the third one is really this guy who's he's just kind of searching for a girl, right? He's been on this search, but maybe doesn't have the confidence, and he's feeling kind of like a fraud, and he's not really sure how to find a woman that aligns with what he wants.
Yeah, certainly, Mike. And before I kind of expand on that, because that was me. I mean, before I met my wife, I had a hell of a journey in discovering who she would be, how I would find her, and aligning my vision and my internal energy with that relationship. But there's this fourth scenario as well, where there's a guy that's in a relationship, and the energy in that relationship has just become kind of stale and complacent, and they're comfortable, they're happy, but the relationship isn't growing. It's not thriving. There's misalignment between where he's going and where she's going, and what he might want and she might want in the relationship. But to really expand on that third scenario that you shared with us just a few minutes ago, the guy that's searching, the guy that's just maybe lacking confidence and clarity around where to go and how to find her. I'd love to share a little bit of my own experience and my story. About 3 years ago, I reached this point in my heartbreak recovery process where I felt like I was open to another relationship. And I decided to go, try Tinder and Bumble and Bimber and Bimby and all those apps to start dating women. And there was such misalignment in every single date that I went on. And what I realized after having wasted away several months in that whole journey was that I had no clarity around exactly what I wanted in the relationship in the first place. And before I'd even gone into that, I hadn't really spent any time deep diving into reflecting on my past romantic relationships and what was absolutely awesome and energizing in those past relationships, and what just brought me to a state of utter dismal despair. And I think that first element, Mike, we should really unpack and talk about it, because it's a foundational starting point. Like really taking the time to reflect on either our past or our present relationship and gaining the clarity around what we really love about it and what needs to go.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, the clarity component is really the foundational level here, because I think a lot of times we don't get what we want out of life is because we've never really defined it. And that's why a lot of the times we have this feeling of life that, like, oh, life just happens to me. I feel I get unlucky. I don't know how this happened. But that's just because we're really lacking the clarity to define, essentially, hey, what's working, what's not, what do I want, what does this feel like? I mean, we really can choose. So I think that's a huge component.
Yeah, and I think one really powerful and challenging struggle that guys get stuck in relationship is when things aren't going really great. It's so easy to stay focused on the things that aren't going great, which just amplifies the arguments, the yelling, the resentments, the tension, the misalignment of visions and the direction of the relationship when they just stay so focused on what isn't going right, and they don't take the time to step back and look at what is really good or what has been good in the past that they really desire to cultivate and nourish and bring more focused energy to. See, I mean, Mike, what we've both learned is that what we focus on expands,
Yeah.
whether that's good or bad. And this first element of reflection really helps us gain, I believe, would you say, the conscious clarity of what we're even focused on in the relationship?
100%. You have to first get clear on what you want and why. Right?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely necessary. And then there's this next stage, right? Of and I absolutely skipped over this in uh, my last journey and diving back into the dating world, and that was letting go of everything about the past relationships that I was still carrying around. Those past subconscious beliefs that were running on autopilot in my mind were not making way for this relationship that I had kind of started to daydream about for in the future. So this next stage of the process, letting go, really it really makes the space in our mind and our heart that's necessary so that we can then create clarity around our relationship vision for the future. And Mike, you did such a great job in the beginning of our conversation too today, pointing out one of the core problems that men fall into in romantic relationships is the misalignment of visions. His vision is headed this way, her vision is heading this way. And I'm not saying, hey guys, go create a single vision. So it's this one thing woven together that's interdependent on her, but to create some alignment so that you feel like you're supporting each other in the direction of your individual dreams and your shared dreams.
Yeah. I mean, it makes absolute sense when you really just step back and think about it. I mean, it's like, if you're a unit, if your relationship is a unit, you've got to be sharing a similar vision in terms of, like, the goals or the outlook of, like, what you want. For example, like, Scott, if we think about this business, if Peak Prosper, if me and you weren't on the same page with our values and what we wanted to grow this business to, it just wouldn't work, because you'd be trying to do one specific action to maybe grow the business. And I'm saying, like, hey man, nah, we're good here. Like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to, blah, 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 blah. So there would just be total frustration there. And it's no different for a romantic relationship.
Absolutely. So, I mean, once like gaining clarity of vision and aligning the direction of where we're going, what would you say is the next most important element to really reinvigorate a relationship?
Yeah, I would say, like, something that we teach at Peak Prosper is like a hard talk, right? So, a lot of the things that you can do to just recharge a relationship is almost even like put yourself in, like a place of listening, put yourself in a place of, like, what does my partner need? That type of thing. And it's not like laying down and saying, oh, you are the one in charge. No, like, I'll do anything for you. But it's more of just like, hey, this is a team here. Like, what do you need, like, to fill your cup? Or what are some of the things lately that would inspire you? Like, how can we, how can we build together? Like what can we create? What can we go do together? What can invigorate our relationship? And just kind of asking those questions rather than, I think a lot of the times in relationships, the conversations are like, I'm sorry I did this, or like complaining at work, or it's like, my day was crap, or it's like, hey, well, what if we just change the intention of the conversation to things that, hey, what do we want to do? What can we go do this weekend that's going to allow us to accomplish XYZ or feel XYZ?
Heart talk is an interesting one, and it's a powerful tool that very few guys know anything about. And I think one of the most powerful things that using a heart talk can do is actually pull out the emotional state of a woman in a relationship and just connect with them on that emotional level that empowers us as men to really tap into the human emotional state of a woman. And then, like you're talking about, just aligning what we're doing with our lives with what she most desires, and that symbiosis and creating a shared vision of, hey, what we might do for the weekend, or how we're engaging in relation to our money management, or whatever it is that might be going on, has the ability to really create that power that I was talking about in the beginning of this session today, that catapults both individuals to higher heights. Yeah. So, Michael, we've created this program, right? Become the man you're meant to be. And I think one of the big underlying problems that is happening in relationships is men aren't the men that they're meant to be. And when they go show up in a relationship, it's so easy to start seeing the problems with her. But really, oftentimes, those are a reflection back at us in regards to things that we need to look at within. Would you say so?
100%, always, every single time. It's just probably the biggest lie that we've ever been fed, from the beginning of time, is that, that there's someone out there that's going to make us happy, that there's, anything, like there's some workout that's going to make us just feel, great. There's some diet out there that's just going to solve all my problems. There's just some, hike in the mountains that's going to finally allow me to be at peace with myself. There is just absolutely nothing in the world external that is going to really change who you are on the inside. If you really just think about that for a second, it's really powerful. So once you start working on yourself and just working to overcome some of the things that you feel are holding you back, maybe it's some limiting beliefs, right? Maybe fear of failure. Maybe you've got this self-doubt going on, or this procrastination that's going on. Maybe you're not feeling like you're worthy enough. You're not feeling like you're good enough. Those are the things that you want to go and say, okay, I'm going to go work on some of these things, because that is invariably going to lead to more confidence, more discipline, more momentum, right? You're going to show up as a calmer, more peaceful person, and people are going to notice. And when people notice, that's how you start to stepping into a leader, right? That's when you can start actually being a role model and saying to other people, hey, I was going to the gym. I was going to the, cleaning up my diet. I was setting new goals. None of those things are really working for me. Yeah, temporarily, short term, like that kind of endorphin hit or whatever. But once you really started to change yourself, wow, look how my business changed. Look how my relationship changed. I mean, I look at some of the guys in our program, like I'll think about Justin, right? Like Justin came to work with us. He was a mess on the inside, and he was working a job that he hated, and he was making $2,000 a month, right? He's in total financial fear. Worked with us, worked on himself, focused on himself. He was a huge people pleaser. He wanted to say yes to everyone. Started focusing on himself. His relationship was struggling. 8 weeks later, his relationship has never been better with his girlfriend, right? He's now working a new job that he loves. And I think he just told me the other day that he's going to have potentially his first $10,000 month. So it's just what happens when we look, if you really think about it, if you feel like crap on the inside, it's going to show up like crap on the outside, right? Think about a time when you're just feeling great on the inside. It's like, wow, everything is great in my life. Well, that's because our internal world and external world are just two sides of the same coin. That's just the most important thing to remember.
Yeah, I think that it's so easy to point a finger at her, right? When our own insecurities start showing up, our own fears, our own self doubt, our own frustrations about life. And when that happens, that
We
almost
all do
just
it.
supercharges the experience, right?
Yeah.
So we've gone through like four elements of this whole process today already. We've talked about reflecting on past relationship, and really identifying what it is you want to keep and what you want to get rid of. We've talked about letting go of that baggage, letting go of that which you don't desire to carry into the next chapter of your relationship or into your new relationship. And we talked next about the importance of creating a crystal clear vision in your relationship, clearly defining what it is that you want and how you want to show up. And now Mike and I have just been talking a little bit about the importance of affirming your commitment to becoming the man that's capable of creating your relationship vision, really aligning your inner world with that outer vision that you desire to experience. And there's one final element I'd love to talk about today. We call it reactivation of your romantic life.
Yep.
And that's where we go from this state of defining and being, really just being as though we are in that relationship already, to doing everything that's necessary to turn that relationship into a reality. And the doing and the having is what happens in this reactivation stage. And I'd love to wrap up here and spend the last couple of minutes today just talking about some things that we can do, some healthy actions we can take as men to reactivate, reinvigorate some happy, healthy energy in our relationships. And before I share any ideas that might ensue from my own mind, Mike, can you share a couple with us?
Yeah. So, Scott, you're essentially saying, like, what are some of the things that, when you talk about like doing and having?
Yeah. I mean, what can we do as men to reinvigorate some healthy, new, fresh energy in our romantic relationships?
Yeah, I would. I challenged one of the guys on our call the other day to just, something had him and his girlfriend had just gotten a new apartment, right? And I challenged him on the call. Said, "Hey, dude, go out, just go celebrate spontaneously right now. Go into the living room, grab your girl, and say, hey, I'm taking you out for dinner. We're going to celebrate." And I think so. Sometimes it's so easy to get caught in the same routine, and routine is important, but it's equally as important to break the routine, because when you start taking the same actions over and over and over again, even if they're the right actions, right? Like, I think you still, like, let's say for example you're a guy and you're like, oh, I'm struggling in my life, boom, you make a transformation, you're taking new actions and you get into a new routine and you're experiencing new results and you're stoked. But you can't do that for the rest of your life, because life changes, life evolves, right? That's how you're going to wind up getting stuck again. It's just by taking the same actions over and over and over and over again. So just that spontaneous, those reinvigorating those new things, like, just go do something like that. I would say that, like, if you're a guy right here and you're watching this and you're trying to reinvigorate your relationship with your wife or your girlfriend, your partner, whatever, go just go, like, surprise her with something totally unique and different that you feel like she would just totally love, and watch the intimacy build in the relationship.
Brilliant. I'm thinking about a couple of things right now, and one of them is flowers, and one is called ABD. I'll talk about ABD in a second, but my wife, when we first met, she said, "Don't ever get me flowers. I don't like flowers." And I go, "Huh. Well, that's kind of weird, but whatever." And one day after I'd gone on this lunch walk that I routinely go through in the park, I just decided I'm just going to pick some park flowers, and I'll tell her they're for me if she decides she doesn't like them. So I picked this beautiful bouquet of flowers in the park, brought them home, set them on the table, and she was so excited that I got her flowers when she got home that night. I go, "Don't worry about it, babe. Those are mine."
That's awesome.
ABD. stands for always be dating. And I think that no matter what stage of a relationship you're in, it's important to always, like Mike said, be bringing fresh and new ideas and opportunities and experiences that keep that new energy alive in a relationship. It's so easy to fall into going to the same restaurants, going to the same places on the weekends, going on the same hikes and bike rides. And new places bring new energy to a relationship that may be falling stale and stagnant. Yep. And then the last piece that I want to talk about today, to reactivate your romantic relationship, and Mike brought this up, is a heart talk. And these are so powerful and profound, and they really connect you at an emotional level with your lady. And women are more emotional beings. Men are more logical and action-based and tactical and strategic, and they're doers and workers and fixers, which is why when things start going wrong in a relationship, we jump straight to implementation of something to fix it. And our women jump straight to the emotional experience. So Heart Talk really empowers you with the clarity of what's going on inside of her neurologically from an emotional standpoint, so that you can really seek to understand rather than just trying to be understood and be right and implement the next thing to fix what's wrong in the relationship. So what a powerful conversation we've had here today, Mike. Yeah, for anybody that is tuned in or may tune in the future to this video, if you can just share in the comments below where you're at in your relationship, what maybe some challenges that you're faced with and how you're trying to navigate those, and just any questions that you have about implementing some of these 5 pieces to our romantic recharge method. We'd be so stoked to help you out in the comments below. So
Amen.
Any last comments, Mike?
Yeah, just would love to just see where some guys are at here, and just share where you're at, and if we can give you some value or breakthroughs, we will. All right, that's it. And grateful to have you guys checking in on this and watching this video, and hopefully that you just got some small win today. So cool. Happy days.